down in the dark hills of southern West Virginia, just west of War and Berwyn. Runs all the way to the Virginia border is a place called Slate Creek. Slate Creek is one of the most beautiful places on earth. It's a place that's full of natural history, all the way back to Native Americans, where many artifacts have been found there. A place that had farmers, moonshiners, loggers. Matter of fact, there used to be an old train that used to run through just to haul the logs out of there. An old camp that was full, that had a huge kitchen that fed all the loggers back in the day. And also, a lot of old hillbillies, they were called. Country people that lived there. There was even a place there where the Union Army tracked a man down and shot him and killed him. But also, the cabin where my father was raised and his father lived. I was even raised most of the time on Slate Creek. Today's story is about the wild woman of Slate Creek. Or was it a panther or a ghost of some kind, a spirit? Nobody knows to this day. But this is the story. The Appalachian Mountains of West Virginia, Kentucky. As mysterious as they are beautiful. It was back in the 1970s. Coon hunting was our favorite sport. I mean, I was early teens, I guess, and one of the things my dad would like to do was take us out of the nights, and it was cold and a lot of walking, and we went coon hunting. But now through the week, we didn't go, but he went with his friends. He went with people like Claude and Candy and Troy and just different ones, and they went out and they chased coons everywhere. But it was on one certain night. I guess just like most other nights that they had traveled, areas there was called War Creek and Slate Creek, and there was a mountain that separated the two, and there was a gap in the mountain. If you don't know what a gap is just a lower area of the mountain that most people could cross over easier without climbing the high point of the mountain. It was a lower area of the mountain. It's a place there called Possum Gap, and Dad and this night was Candy. They was out hunting, and they used old mining lights like you use in the coal mines, and the dogs had treed way up toward the top of Barrelwater Mountain, up the head. As you get to the top of Barrelwater Mountain, there was a road up there. One side of the road was Virginia, and the other side of the road was West Virginia. If you had an accident on top of that mountain, they said that the state police or the deputy sheriffs would come along and they would pour water in whichever direction the water ran in was who was responsible for the accident, as far as Buchanan County or McDowell County. But on this particular night, they was hunting, and the dogs had treed, and they went to the top of the mountain, and they was getting ready to go back down, when all of a sudden they heard this sound that was coming from out of War Creek, coming their way, and a sound that they had never heard before. And it was far away, and they couldn't really make it out as some kind of bird or a stray dog or what it was. They didn't know. See, in the 1970s, coons had become so scarce that they had to travel distances just to try to find one. Now they're in every trash can, they're in every yard, they're just everywhere. But it wasn't like that then because of, I guess, overhunting and different things. So they had to look everywhere just trying to find, just to get a chase. They wanted to hear the dogs bark, and the old hunters could tell everything about the coon trail by the sound of their dogs bark. If it was a cold trail, it was almost a lost-like bark. It came slow. But when it was hot, it was a more rapid bark. But when it went up the tree, they knew exactly when it went up the tree because of that constant, steady tree bark. They knew exactly everything about. Matter of fact, they even knew what their dog was chasing by the sound of the bark that the dog was doing. But on this certain night, they had traveled across the mountain from Shop Hollow, across the gap, down into Slate Creek, all the way up the hollow there, just trying to find a coon and get on a trail. They found something, all right. Not exactly what they was looking for, not exactly what they wanted, but they found something that they was able to tell stories about for years. But so anyway, the night was about over, so they started walking down out of the main creek, and it was heading back to Shop Hollow. Well, as they was going, it was really late, and the lights started trying to go out on them. The only problem is the sound started getting louder and louder and closer and closer. By this time, the dog, the big ferocious dogs, these dogs that would chase a bear or deer or coyotes or whatever, they wasn't afraid of anything, had ran to them with the hair up on their backs and the tail between their legs. Now, if you know what when a dog's hair goes on its back, then and the tail between his legs, he is really, really threatened. He's really threatened. And the dogs didn't want to stay out from under their feet. It was hard for them to walk because of the dogs being under their feet and them trying to come down out of this hollow, getting ready to cross over the gap into Shop Hollow to get home. But the sound started getting closer. And my dad said the noise started going, whoo-wee! Whoo, 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 whoo. And I said, well, was it an owl? No. Dad knew what an owl was. Dad was raised on Slate Creek, born in 1922, raised in a house with no plumbing and no lights and just using lamps and fireplaces or whatever kind of wood they knew all about owls. He said, no, what an owl? And it got closer and closer and closer to them, and the dogs were scared to death. And here they are. Their lights are going out. And the sound was, whoo, 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 whoo. And I said, well, Dad, what kind of noise? He said, it sounded like a drunk woman screaming. And, I know what a drunk woman screaming sounded like, but he said it sounded like that. And they, at the time, thought it was a panther. They didn't know what this noise was. I mean, if some of you guys know maybe what is making this sound, maybe you can comment and tell me what is making this noise. And they got closer and closer to them, and the dogs scared to death. They was scared. They had nothing but an old 22 single shot rifle and probably not going to do any damage to this thing. Well, they couldn't really see it anyway because their lights was almost dead. And the farther they got, the sound started going around them. It was on this side, woo-wee, whoo, 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 and on this side, woo-wee, whoo, whoo, whoo. And all the way around them, and everywhere they turned, they was trying to just get away, trying to get up through there, and they was looking at the sky. See, at the nights, the way you can travel and know you're in the road is you look up and see the clear streak of sky. On this side, you're going to see trees, and this side, you're going to see trees. But the area without trees, that's how you would travel to try to get out of the woods. And they was trying to travel the road to get out of there, but yet it was pacing them. It was going around and around and around, but thank God they made it out, and they still to this day don't know what that was doing it, but it happened many more times. Whatever this thing was on Slate Creek, this creature, this animal or whatever it was chasing them out of there night after night after night. My brother and his friends even went over, and Eddie and Clyde and some of those, and they went over, and they also coon hunting, and the same thing happened to them. Eddie started camping out one night in an old trailer down where we farmed there on Slate Creek, right there, a place called Warhorn Bottom. And Eddie said one come out of this hollow making the noise, the same sound, and the other one come out of the other hollow making the same sound. He said they met up together, and here they are all hunched up, knowing good and well this thing could probably rip the doors of the trailer off. But wow, what is that noise? What is that sound? What was going on that even would scare the dogs? These big old Walker coon hounds and these red bones and black and tan coon hounds that are that was not afraid of anything. They would chase bears and I've even seen these dogs chase lions and everything else, but they were scared of whatever this was so bad that they ran to Dad and Candy and so tight that they couldn't even hardly walk for them. What was that thing? What was that making that sound? Ooh-wee! Ooh, 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 ooh. To this day, we don't know what it was. Thankfully, it's been years since anybody's heard it over there. It's been years since anybody's heard the sound. But yet it was heard by not just 2, but dozens of people heard this Slate Creek creature making this noise. Was it a panther? Was it a Bigfoot? Sasquatch, an alien. We don't know what it was. To this day, we don't know what it was. If you like this story, click like. Follow us for more adventures. My dad was one of the greatest storytellers ever. He tells these stories to be true. These are not made up. These are his true adventures. Stay tuned. We'll be sending more.